Chapter 11. The Hidden Tracks. Sunday, June the 25th, 4 p.m. Graham's house. Greece, NY. The air in the living room was dense with the scent of white bread, mayonnaise, and bologna, but none of us were paying much attention to our plates. We were too deep in the past to care much about the present. Dad had just finished telling one of his stories, the kind that always seemed to start as a joke and end in a ghost story. Matt sat on the arm of the couch, brow raised. "Yeah, so?" he said, shrugging. "I've heard that one before." I shook my head. "But this one really happened." He paused. "Yeah, right. Oh, wait. You're serious?" Eric leaned forward, elbows on knees. "It's true. Most of those stories we heard as kids, the ones about solving mysteries and chasing after weird stuff, those weren't made up. The bike thing? Real. The time we snuck into the cemetery and found that crypt half open? Real. Dad just wrote it all down after the fact and cleaned it up into a story." Matt squinted at me. "What about the Dracula ones?" "Some of those, too," I said. Dad didn't believe us at first. Thought it was imagination, but after a while, he got nervous. Said he'd keep writing stories, but told us to stop looking into the strange stuff. He was scared we'd get hurt. Or worse, Eric added softly. Matt looked back and forth between us. "This is a lot." "It gets stranger," I said. "You know Kolchak? The Night Stalker?" Matt blinked. "What? The TV show?" "Jeff Rice wrote the stories based on a real guy, Carl Kolchak. The Vegas vampire stuff? That happened. 1970. Rice turned it into a short story, just to get it out into the world." Eric nodded. "Didn't Kolchak disappear for a while?" "Right after Vegas. Resurfaced in Chicago in '72. Told Rice he'd tracked a vampire case in Seattle, one that happened every 21 years like clockwork. The rest was Hollywood polish. What I got from Carl, that's the real stuff. He gave me tapes. Originals." Matt was shaking his head. "You're telling me this guy was out there, doing all this for real, and nobody believed him?" "Carl warned us about that," I said. "So did Dad." "The cops? The media? If it makes them look bad, they'll bury the whole thing, discredit you, make you look like a lunatic. That's why we keep it close. No one outside this room knows. And I need your word. It stays that way." Matt gave a small laugh. "What? You want me to swear an oath or something?" "No," Eric said. "Just don't spill the beans." All right," Matt said, hands raised. "I won't say anything." A door clicked open behind us. "Well," Deb said, stepping into the room, arms crossed, "as long as everyone's making solemn vows in here, I figure it's time we share what we found." Bob trailed in behind her, flipping through a folder of printed documents. "Wait till you hear this." Deb set her laptop on the table. Francis Knowlton, born and raised near the old Atkinson farm in Hilton, settled just south of Parma Center. His whole family is buried in that cemetery. Bob pulled a page from the folder. He designed the Erie Canal reroute around Rochester in 1910. By 1927, he was the lead engineer on the Rochester subway project. But here's the kicker. Around 1920, he stopped working days, only worked at night. Most of his co-workers were afraid of him. Then he vanished, Deb added. No trace after 1930. Bob grinned. And it gets better. Before his work in New York, he studied the canals in Venice, traveled through Romania, opened a couple of civic firms there in the early 1900s. In 1913, guess who he partnered with? "Who?" Eric asked, already uneasy. "Leo Scorzeni." The room erupted. "What?" I said, nearly dropping my drink. "You've got to be kidding," Eric muttered. Oh my God, Matt said, half laughing, half horrified. Bob continued, calm and certain. Knowlton traveled all over. Paris, London, Rochester, Romania. He said he had a new mass transit design based on European models. Even claimed it would tunnel under the city and connect districts faster than any trolley line. And guess who he took with him to London, Deb added, her voice tight with implication. Leo's son, Bob said. Janos Skorzeny. Which means Knowlton wasn't just tied to him. He mentored him, Deb said. Matt suddenly sat upright. Hold on. The subway. I just remembered something my mom told me back when she was working at Gannett. We all turned. What? I said. What did Aunt Pat say? Deb echoed. She said the businesses along the old canal all requested access doors, loading docks, back corridors, into the subway system. They were built into the foundations. They're still there. She said people used them for deliveries and shortcuts even into the late 70s. He looked around the room, eyes wide. Those old passageways. They're still down there. That's how he's moving. That's the key. No one said a word for a full 10 seconds. Then Bob broke the silence. If Knowlton's still alive, and if he's using those tunnels, we're not hunting a vampire. Eric finished the thought. We're walking into his lair. Chapter 12. Beneath the Surface. Sunday, June the 25th, 5 p.m. Graham's house, Greece, NY. We had a solid lead. For the first time in this bizarre, blood-soaked mystery, the pieces weren't just falling into place. They were snapping together with eerie precision. It started the moment Matt charged out to his car and came back with a battered city map, the kind they don't make anymore, creased like a road-weary face, corners curled, coffee stains on the legend. I've got an idea, he said, unfolding it on the dining room table like a general laying out a battlefield. Let's figure out where Knowlton's operating from. First, give me the locations of the victims, I leaned in. Well, the hospitals were just blood bank hits, convenient access. But if he's feeding on victims, we need to look at those incidents. That's where the trails start and end. Bob tapped the table with a blunt finger. Right. He hits the blood banks because they're easy. But it's the bodies that matter. Those give us his movement. And he's got to be using the subway to get away. Matt nodded. Okay. The last victim, Cindy something. Bradley, Eric corrected. Found her this morning in the river. Right here, he jabbed the map near the riverbank, southeast of the old Crown Point Hotel. Before that? Matt asked. I fished out my notes from the flight home. I worked up a list in order. Started with Liz Phelps, June 6th, Smoky Joe's. Then Pam Whitney in the parking garage. Next, Tamara McDaniel, the Kmart waitress near Cornhill. Then Cassie Phillips in Graves Alley. And finally, Cynthia Bradley this morning. Narration settled in as I picked up a handful of colored pushpins Deb had brought in from her desk drawer. One by one, we marked the map with each incident, slowly forming a crescent shape. The pattern was undeniable. Every location hugged the old canal bed, now buried beneath the city as the abandoned subway route. The center of the curve? The aqueduct, an arched remnant of old-world infrastructure buried beneath the city's glossy veneer. The canal had once crossed over the Genesee River there. Now it lay dormant, silent, and possibly hiding something far older and far more dangerous than broken tracks. Matt leaned in, eyes scanning. That aqueduct's key. He's circling it. If he's got a lair, it's down there. Or connected to something that is. Bob and Deb were already back on the computer, digging into building records. Matt spread out his arms. Look at the angles. These aren't random attacks. They're radiating out from that location. Yeah, Eric said. But don't forget the 3 students from Fisher. Already on it, I said. Murphy told me they were headed downtown the night they disappeared. Some coffeehouse event on West Main. Another trio of red pins joined the arc, directly between Graves Alley and Main. Eric stepped back. This is insane. How many buildings are even connected to the subway anymore? The bedroom door swung open. Bob appeared, a printout in one hand. More than you want to know. Deb followed close behind. We've got at least 24 that were built directly over the original canal route. Some even had access tunnels. The courthouse, several buildings on Broad, Lyle, Midtown Plaza, the Sibley building. The list is enormous. And worse, Bob added. The subway was meant to expand. A whole secondary set of tunnels was partially dug for extensions that never happened. I stared. Expansion? I thought the project was abandoned in the 50s. Yeah, he said, but they left the infrastructure intact. Those buildings were built while the subway was still operating. Many have sealed doors that were never demolished. Eric exhaled through his teeth. So we're not just dealing with a subway line. We're dealing with an underground city. Exactly, Bob said. And Knowlton's had 100 years to make it his own. I reached for the envelope of graveyard photos. I need to talk to Murphy. He needs to see this, especially the symbols on the Knowlton headstone. Bob handed me the prints. That altered Masonic crest. Never seen one quite like it. Gothic. Darker somehow. I slid the photos into my coat pocket and headed for the door. I'll fill Murphy in. If we're going to find Knowlton, we'll need to coordinate a proper sweep. This isn't a backyard ghost hunt anymore. Behind me, Matt and Eric exchanged a glance. Matt leaned in, voice low. Whether we like it or not, we need to prepare. If we're going down into that subway, we don't go empty-handed. Eric crossed his arms. I'm not doing this unarmed. Matt gave a sideways grin. You thinking what I'm thinking? Eric's eyes lit up. Gojira. Matt reached for the car keys. I brought my own peace of mind. It's in the trunk. Eric followed. Let's go shopping for monsters. And just like that, the plan was in motion. The map on the table, the symbols on the stones, the shadows under the streets. They all pointed the same direction. Down. Chapter 13. Arms and Answers. Sunday, June the 25th, 6 p.m. Greece, NY, Park Avenue, Rochester. On my way into the city to meet Murphy, my thoughts kept looping back to Matt. He hadn't signed up for this. Not the danger, not the legacy. Eric and I, we had history with the things that live in the dark. Eric had been through it. He remembered what it took to fight monsters. But Matt was still playing catch-up. Back at the house, while I drove toward Murphy's apartment, Eric popped his trunk and revealed a collection that would make a medieval blacksmith blush. Blades, staffs, foam core weapons from old demos, real ones too. Stuff I always figured was just for show. Turns out it wasn't. The metallic clatter of steel echoed across the driveway. Eric grinned. Sean never appreciated this stuff. Matt snorted, picking up a sheathed sword with a weighty thud. You never know when you gotta let some little bastard have it across the... did I say that out loud? He smirked, eyes scanning the arsenal like a kid in a candy store. Eric started explaining, pulling gear from beneath the emergency blanket. Holy water. Worked wonders last time. We soaked those things good. They hated it. Matt squinted. Wait. Graham's still got that little ice ball mold in the kitchen drawer, right? Eric's grin grew wider. You're thinking what I'm thinking. They rummaged through the kitchen and basement like bandits on a divine mission. Matt pulled the mold triumphantly from the junk drawer and ran it under the tap. "It's smaller than a paintball," he muttered, "which means it'll fit the splatball guns perfectly." "Frozen holy water splatballs," Eric said, eyes alight. "Now we're talking." Then came the real prep. Fencing sabers, broom handles, kendo sticks, table legs, anything that could be carved, sharpened, reinforced. The two of them hauled it into the cellar, setting up shop like war was imminent. And in truth, it was. As they cobbled together their weapons, they got a visitor. Chaz stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed. "What exactly are you boys up to?" Matt didn't miss a beat. "Chaz, if we asked you to help us build something, no matter how nuts it sounds, would you?" Chaz rubbed his chin. "I'll bet there's already one in the cellar." "Yeah," Eric chuckled. "I don't doubt it." They worked for hours under Chaz's mechanical supervision. Stakes were cut, tips filed, blades balanced. Somewhere in that basement, something ancient stirred awake, and the boys, in their own way, were getting ready to greet it. Meanwhile, at Murphy's place, I dropped a cardboard box onto his floor. Inside were cassette tapes, Kolchak's tapes, the real ones, originals dubbed to preserve the truth. Murphy sat cross-legged, holding the first tape like it was a sacred relic. We didn't say much for the next 4 hours, just watched, listened, learned. It was nearly 10 p.m. by the time the last one crackled to an end. Murphy leaned back on his hands. "I saw that old movie once, The Night Stalker. Never knew it was based on a real case. This is insane." "It's just the surface," I said. "Kolchak didn't make any of it up. Jeff Rice got it from him directly. These tapes, they're evidence, proof. But if they ever got into the wrong hands, you've got my word. I'll treat them like gold. I just want the truth." I narrowed my eyes. "Kolchak warned me, Murphy. The police? The city? They'll bury you if you make them look bad." Murphy laughed once, dry. "They already are burying me. They won't return my calls. They're focused entirely on Eppolito. To hell with leads, to hell with facts. I laid out our latest. The map, the pins, the pattern, the aqueduct, the subway, the orbiting crime scenes." Murphy added a pin of his own. Another one reported missing. Just this morning, he stood over the map. But there's a flaw. If this guy is a vampire, how's he returning to his resting place every time without being seen? "He doesn't have to," I said. "Knowlton's from here." "His native soil? It's beneath his feet. He designed this system. He knows every tunnel, every access door," Murphy paced. "And the cops won't touch that angle." An engineer who vanished in the Depression? They'd laughed me out of the room, which means we're on our own. He turned. "You've got a plan?" "My family does. We fought this kind of thing before." Just then, Murphy's police scanner exploded with static and urgency. "Dispatch. All units! All units! We have cult suspect, Joseph Eppolito, involved in a homicide in progress at the downtown campus. All units respond. Downtown campus. Immediately." We locked eyes. Murphy was already grabbing his coat. "Looks like our vampire just threw a smoke bomb," he said. "And the cops are running right into it." I grabbed the map and the tapes. We're not far behind. Chapter 14. The Ambush at Damon Hall. Sunday, June the 25th, 10 p.m., downtown Rochester, Damon campus. The hypnotic loop of Kolchak's tape still echoed in my head when Murphy and I bolted from his apartment like our lives depended on it. Maybe they did. Maybe everyone's did. By the time we hit the bottom stairwell, Murphy was already strapping his Nikon, and I had his phone in hand, dialing as we sprinted. Eric answered on the second ring. I told him to get Matt and meet us at the Main Street entrance of the downtown Damon campus. He said they'd bring the Motorola radios. Smart thinking. Murphy's Chevy fired up with a growl like a cornered animal, and we tore up Park Avenue, weaving north down Barrington and cutting across east to Main. Downtown was lit up like Christmas and crawling with flashing red and blue. 8 squad cars were already wedged curbside near the Liberty Pole. More howled down Broad, Exchange, and Clinton, converging like iron filings to a magnet. Damon Hall was under siege. Police had already locked down the first 2 floors. The lieutenant, bullhorn in one hand, radio in the other, barked orders like a war general. 4 officers flanked the glass walkway bridge, weapons drawn. Above them, chaos crackled like lightning. Starling flagged us at the perimeter. We think we know how he got in. Lieutenant snapped his head around. I'm listening. There's a locked access way in the basement. An old maintenance tunnel with a Sibley's padlock. It was forced. No one even knew it was still in use. Murphy leaned in. And you never checked it? The lieutenant didn't even look at him. This doesn't concern you now. Stay back into the bullhorn. Proceed to the dorm areas. While Murphy and I tried to piece together what we were watching, the first wave of officers had reached the 3rd floor, the dormitory level. From where we stood, the radios burst to life with scattered voices, muffled orders, and then screams. The vampire struck fast. He lunged from the vending machines in the shadows, shredding the first group of officers like wrapping paper. Gunshots rang out. Wild, panicked, aimless, a second wave advanced as the first crumpled. They fared no better. By the time backup from the stairs and escalators arrived, he was gone, vanished like smoke, but not gone far. He's waiting, I muttered. Lieutenant's voice roared above the chaos. I want all civilians 2 blocks back. Starling turned to us. That means you too. And before we could protest, Bob's car screeched into a parking spot across the way. Bob jumped out. Holy cow, what the hell is happening up there? Sean. They're getting shredded. Starling waved frantically. Get back. This is a live scene. Bob motioned frantically. Guys, over here. Matt and Eric jogged up behind him, breathless. What is it? I asked. Bob's voice dropped to a whisper. I think I know where he's going next. Matt. Then let's beat him to it. Eric. I'm not waiting around to be corpse number 12. I handed Eric one of the Motorola radios. Take this. Stay in touch. They nodded, piled into the car, and roared down Main toward the river. Starling shoved Murphy and me into the DMV lobby. Murphy didn't stop rolling film. He zoomed in on the stairs, on the cops, on the carnage. But something caught my eye out the corner of the skylight. Movement in the skyway. The glass walkway stretched between buildings like a fishbowl. 3 shadows crept low inside it. Swift, silent. Human in form, not human in motion. They made it to the far end and rose behind the officers stationed there. In a breath, 4 men went down without so much as a shout. Their bodies slumped like puppets with cut strings. I elbowed Murphy so hard he nearly dropped the camera. Sean, get Starling. Now. I grabbed the Motorola. Sean, guys, do you read me? Guys, this is Sean. Eric's voice crackled through. Sean. The vampire's not alone. Static hissed, then Matt's voice. Matt. What do you mean? Sean. I just saw 3 more. Took down the guards on the skyway. Fast. Silent. Coordinated. Murphy ran back, pale as the corpses upstairs. They're moving as a pack, he said, like wolves. I looked at him, my stomach sinking. No, I said. Like a nest. Chapter 15. Hell breaks loose at Midtown Plaza. Sunday, June the 25th, 11 p.m. Midtown Plaza. Rochester, NY Bob, Matt, and Eric came to a grinding stop beside the Chase Manhattan building on Stone Street. The entrance to the Skyway loomed just ahead, glass reflecting the streetlights like eyes in the dark. Bob quickly scanned the block, empty. With a glance and a grunt, he brought an elbow through the double doors. The glass shattered outward like ice under pressure. "There's no security alarms," Matt muttered, stepping over the broken threshold. "They must have cut them," Bob said, ducking into the shadows. "That's how they've been moving." Skyway to Skyway, Eric clicked on his Motorola. "Sean, we're coming through the Chase Inn now. Should be in Midtown in 2. Sean's voice crackled through the radio. "Watch yourselves." I counted at least 3 of them. Police lost the main one. "I think they scattered." "Copy that." Eyes open. As they made their way into the guts of the Chase building, the halls whispered with dust and dead air. No lights, no motion, nothing but the low hum of their breath. "Damn, it's dark in here," Matt whispered. "Where the hell are we?" "Midtown's through this corner." "Come on." Eric zipped open a duffel bag and began pulling out equipment. Blades, stakes, modified paintball guns, a crude arsenal of vampire warfare. "Holy crap," Bob said. "You've been stockpiling?" Eric smirked. "Shame on you, never checking Chaz's back corners. Some of this stuff's vintage." Matt handed out flashlights and clips of splat balls. "Locked and loaded." "Shh," Eric hissed. "Someone's coming." The trio melted into the shadows near the corridor mouth. A tall silhouette stepped through the light, a dark blur against the city glow filtering through the glass above. Matt nodded at Eric. "Now." 6 sharp pops cracked through the silence. A burst of vapor as the splat balls made contact. "Aha! Damn it! Sonav, stop! Stop shooting!" The figure stumbled into the light, clutching his side. Sean. "You shot me with... what is this, ICE? Jesus." Matt dropped his weapon. "It was his idea." Eric holstered the gun. "It worked, didn't it?" Bob helped Sean upright. "You okay?" "Barely. You see anything?" "Not yet," Eric said. "But something's coming." Sean paused. "Wait. Do you smell that?" Then everything went to hell. From the shadows, they exploded, a blur of teeth, claws, and shrieks. One caught Bob square in the chest and sent him flying over a cafe wall, where he crumpled behind a gate. Another barreled into Matt, who managed half a swing with his sword before it was kicked clean from his grip. Eric raised his gun, fired, 1 shot. A hiss of pain and a burning sizzle as the holy water round seared into the creature's leg. But the gun was ripped away, and Eric tossed hard to the floor. Then the last one grabbed Sean by the throat, lifting him clear off the ground. The stench of rotted earth and carrion breath punched him in the face like a fist. Sean gasped, "This guy needs a breath mint." Really bad. A low growl filled the air, deep, ancient, human, and not. From behind them, a 4th figure stepped forward, tall, pale, unblinking. Francis Knowlton. "You boys are persistent," Knowlton sneered, voice as slick as oil and cold as marble. "You don't understand what you're up against," Matt hissed through his teeth. "We're starting to get the idea." Knowlton's eyes narrowed to slits. "You bring your toys, your clever little tricks, but you have no comprehension of what I am. I was old before your nation had a name. I walked with architects who shaped empires, and you think ice and tin blades will stop me?" Sean struggled in the vampire's grip. "Worked once before." Knowlton stepped closer, looking each of them in the eye. "You believe this is a game. You believe the dead stay in the ground. You're wrong. I will outlast all of you." He leaned close to Sean. "I remember you." Parma. "The stake. You were there. You killed my blood. That memory. It burns." Matt managed to drag himself up, brandishing a stake. "Then burn with it." A sudden slicing sound. Murphy's voice rang out. How about a little steel for your thoughts? Murphy appeared behind Knowlton's flanking vampire, the missing sword from earlier now pressed to its neck. Tell them to back off, Murphy hissed, or I take this one's damn head. Knowlton's face twisted into a terrible smile. Do it. He is nothing to me. Murphy didn't hesitate. The blade hissed, the head rolled, and the corpse ignited in a column of blue fire. Knowlton's mask cracked. Fury surged in his voice. You will regret that? All of you? Not tonight, Sean wheezed. Eric pulled a pistol from his coat. Light him up, Matt. 3 quick shots. One vampire took all 3, howled, and burst into flames. Knowlton snarled, Retreat! The remaining 2 vampires moved fast, flanking him. Knowlton's eyes locked with Sean's. Pure malice etched into that corpse-white face. This isn't over, he hissed. I will show you what true darkness means. With a final blast of shattering glass, they smashed through the skyway doors and vanished into the night. Damn, Matt said, catching his breath. We actually survived. Sean stared after the vanished monsters. Barely. They turned back. Bob was staggering upright, wounded but alive. The fire still burned behind them, and the war was only beginning.